Hello, everyone. My name's Jake Brennan. I'm a work in facilities here at ISU. Just taking a few classes to finish my bachelor's degree. I'm born and raised here in Bloomington Normal area. I did leave for 6 years while I was in the military. Came back, got into trade, started working at ISU. Kind of moved up the ladder a little. So I figured I better finish my bachelor's degree. I didn't have an excuse not to have one before. I really don't now. So I'm definitely a little older than probably any of you guys. I have a daughter who's 12 now. We moved in this house a couple years ago. We moved from a Fairview district to Grove Elementary District, which both are Unit 5 schools. Both are good schools, but the difference was is this school had a really high Indian population. It's just something I'd never really been exposed to. At any point in my life, really. I've just never lived in a high percentage Indian area. So when we moved here, I know it's a pretty small sample group, but I just being the Grove Elementary students and families. But I did notice certain traits that were very predominant. Obviously, I'm stereotyping, I understand, but I just want to give you guys a clue on why I started looking into their culture so much. But I did notice that some of these traits include their high academic drive and performance. They have a lot of respect and manners. These kids are all very well behaved. And the kids and the parents all seem extremely grateful for every opportunity they had. And that's a quality that I envy here. I think a lot of Americans have lost sight of that, and it's pretty hard to argue that fact. But it's very refreshing to be around a group of people that does appreciate opportunities as given. Let's see. To start out with, talk about the communication side of things. While their languages, they actually have no official language in India. Hindi is the official language of the government itself to use, but India as a country does not have an official language. I think there's like 23 total languages that are held in the Constitution as Indian languages. So a large part of the population is multilingual, which I think helps them here in the U.S. greatly because I think the large population do speak English over there too. So that's what makes them so valuable here. Or excuse me, I shouldn't say what makes them so valuable, but that's one of the things that makes their values be able to transition over into our country is their ability to speak our language. So you transfer that with a nice skill set, and they are a perfect fit for here in America. As far as State Farm, I know ISU has a bunch too. One of the things that I've always enjoyed about them is their greetings. And if you don't know how to take them, of course, like anything, you can always kind of be a little iffy about what's going on. But they do namaste. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But where they basically put both hands together, namaste, and that's how you can. That's a pretty standard greetings, traditional. It's a safe greeting. Men, you can shake another man's hand. They don't like the men shaking the women's hands in general as part of the Indian culture. You shouldn't really shake a woman's hand. You should always greet the elders and superiors first. They have that sort of tradition, and they also have a religious caste and social standings affect all their greetings too. So I don't know how you get around with that one if you're traveling there for sure, but I'm sure you'll be fine. The style that you avoid standing too close. They're kind of like us in that context. They like an arm's length, unless you're from a bigger city here. Really, most people in the Midwest prefer an arm's length distance from somebody. They do have a very high context culture, meaning that you're gonna have to read between the lines. They're not gonna come right out like we do here and say, "Hey, this is exactly what you need." Of course, we're a pretty low context culture in the fact that we like everything spelled out for us, nice and neat. That's not the case in the Indian culture, but they seem to get along just fine. Let's see, they have several gestures that can get you in trouble there. Um, like we would just wave hi to somebody in their culture. Sometimes that can signify go away or no. And when they say they'll usually try, that typically means no. They're a culture that does not like to refuse someone outright. They think it's impolite. So they will say I will try my best, which basically means no. So it's nicer than saying no, which I think we do a lot of that here too. Um, but yeah. So pointing, when they point, where we might point, hey, yeah, they don't really like that. Apparently, it's rude. I've never been called out on it necessarily, but I've had some of the ones, some of my neighbors that I'm much closer to, I've had them explain to me that, hey, no offense, but this is how I would point to you with my hand, and don't, basically they were wanting me to not know what they were saying when they point as a hand. So they will chin the direction that they're talking to. They can use their thumb, like they'll point with their thumbs. Okay, over there, over there. They will not point with a finger or two. That's rude where they're at. The figure eight type style they do with the head, the kind of nod thing. It usually means yes, but it could mean kind of, we kind of guilty a little bit of that too. But I actually really like that one. I think that one's a pretty neat thing they do. Back to their personal space. We get with arm's length. You don't touch people's heads, which I don't know why you walk around touching people's heads anyway. They don't appreciate PDA very much. So if you go over there, that's not the kind of culture they are. So they don't appreciate that very much. You should apologize if you accidentally touch somebody's foot or left hand. Both feet and their left hand are considered unclean. So if you do accidentally make contact with somebody's foot or their left hand, you just simply apologize, and they'll be okay with it. Um, they do have several dance narratives that they use, and I am not going to try to pronounce these for you, out of respect for their culture. I just hate to butcher these words, but they basically tell a narrative, of or a story through their gestures throughout this dance, and that's kind of the story that they tell that's passed down from generation to generation. And each gesture does basically represent a different part of the story in general. So yeah, I really like when they have Diwali, like my neighbors firing off fireworks in the wintertime. It's a pretty nice change of pace. Everyone's super excited, so it's definitely fun times. They also have a Holi festival, which is basically the Festival of Colors or Festival of Love. It was a huge springtime celebration. Other than that, they really don't celebrate a whole lot of holidays. They're always in some type of festival period, but as far as just holidays themselves, I mean, really they have Republic Day, Independence Day, and then Gandhi's birthday, um, scattered throughout the year. All right, their family life is can be a little trickier than ours, of course. You're invited to someone's dinner table, you should go if you're invited, which is bad for me because I don't not a big fan of the food, but I enjoy their people, so I'd probably go muscle through it. But if you are invited, you should bring some sort of small gift. They may not accept, but it's still a friendly gesture to bring some type of small gift with you. You got to be a respectful gift, especially if it's from your home country. So you should reciprocate the offer with a similar meal of similar value. If you go over there, they make you a big fancy feast. You should probably reciprocate and say, hey, next month let's do this at my place, and I'll cook you a meal. So, although it wouldn't be me, but it's not uncommon for them to place a flower garland around your neck if you are to come into their homes and have a meal with their family. I've never seen my neighbors do that around here, but I guess it's something they do over there pretty particularly. Shoes are rarely worn inside, so if you're going in, maybe maybe just keep an eye on what your host is doing. That's usually a good rule of thumb for most anything. In the south and east parts of India, if your host is from one of those places, it's very common for them to eat with their right hand. Again, the left hand is the unclean one, so they wash their hands very good. It's actually a very sterile event. It's good for your digestive because you eat slower. You don't eat food when it's too hot because it'll burn your hands, so you're not shoveling something super hot into your mouth and burning yourself. So life over there does revolve more around families. Oftentimes you get multiple generations in one household, and your actions can impact the entire family. They are family first type of culture. Okay. Let's see. The gender role is probably one of the downsides of the Indian culture. Is that they're, in my mind, the women's rights still is a little bit of a concern there. I haven't really seen too much of it as far as my neighbors go here, but over in India especially, there's a 82% males, 65% females. The literacy rate, females aren't a lot of times aren't given the same educational opportunities. A lot of times they are, especially in more modern, urbanized areas. Let's see. Arranged marriages do still take place. Again, the urban middle class is really getting away from that. They're kind of getting a lot more westernized, of course. Um, Females still are expected to take care of the children, and sons will inherit, while their daughters will receive a dowry. So, still some definite women's rights concerns over in this area, but I think there, especially the urban middle class, is coming a long way to fill the voids there, and time will straighten out the rest, hopefully. They still have a caste system over there, which means basically whatever class you're born into, that's the class you will die into. So there's not really much intermarriage between the caste. Again, urban middle class is really doing away with that, but part of their names would be the final thing we'd like to hit on. Is obviously with being such a large area with so much population, they some of these cultures are fairly stereotypical, but many people have given names or professional type names they'll use at work, and then they'll have what they call pet names, basically what they'll use at home, and then some will even have a religious name that they use, while at worship. So there could be several names for the same person. I know this particularly well because they call me Jacob at home and Jake at work, and Jimmy on the East Coast for whatever reason that may be. So, so I definitely know how that goes. The word auntie or auntie works for older females, even when not related. I would imagine if you used to use that in the wrong context, it may be a little insulting, but I think it's supposed to be a respectful word. And then the family and surnames often denote the caste or the region of origin. So sometimes the family or surname will represent more of the type of wealth or region that you come from, vice just being a turned over name. So, all right. Well, that basically sums up most of the culture of India as far as obviously there's much more we could talk about. We could sit here for hours and talk, but that sums up the key parts. So hope you enjoyed, and I hope as you stumble upon some of these Indian people living here in America, you can maybe lend out some of these gestures just to let them know they're welcome. All right, thank you.